All right. It says recording. All right. I think,
I
think we're recording, Coach.
Good deal, brother.
I need you here from Texas because I need somebody here to help me because I'm definitely challenged IT. Hey, folks, welcome to Living. All right, I was going to say Living with Coach Rozy. That's my radio show. Coach Rozy's Chalk Talk. Today I've got longtime friend. Who, Coach? 30 years, probably.
28, Coach. I'm almost there, buddy.
Almost.
Don't jump me too far ahead.
Yeah, I know. We want you too old. Coach just had a birthday. He just turned 50. Coach just turned 50, and we've known each other for many moons back in our North Texas days, Coach.
Yeah, a long time.
Long time ago. I was assistant strength coach back then. Coach was a GA. And
washing cars, baby.
Yeah, washing cars. And you're still down in Texas.
Yes, sir.
For those folks that don't know, I can tell you're like, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Just give a background of who you are, where you're at. I know you've been head coach and where you're at now, and then we'll kind of get into this whole process when you and I were talking a couple of weeks about your academic program. And just let folks know who you are a little bit that maybe don't know who you are.
All right, my name's Paul Sharr. I'm actually the academic dean in Jacksonville, Texas, not Jacksonville, Florida. It's a little south of Tyler. Been doing this, like Coach Rozy said, I've been doing this, finishing up my 27th year. I've done everything from being assistant coach, being an athletic director, a head football coach, everything, every crappy job you can have, except the equipment manager. I'm not going to be the equipment manager ever. But that's a little bit of kind of what I'm about. Kind of took this academic thing in about 12 years ago when I was an AD head football coach and kind of introduced it into a school that was struggling a little bit academically. And then over the past 15 years, I've been at 3 different schools, and we've implemented it. Each situation it's just been phenomenal, the results. And it doesn't matter if you're an A student or AB student or a BC student, it all takes care of itself. It's really a dynamic program, and it's really easy to use. And it's a kids check their grades all the time on their phones. It's kind of a competition a little bit, Rozy.
Let me ask you this one, Coach, because like up here, and I know grades are important, but I think even more just because of the athletic impact down there and the grades, and I know grades are important up here too, but just to keep track of, in the bigger, a lot of your schools, even like your, like in ours, it's B's, A's, double A's, triple A schools and stuff. I think a lot of times, a lot of parents and coaches think, well, this is more for a bigger school to keep track of because there's so many, a smaller school with maybe only 20 kids, 25 kids out for football and 15 kids out for basketball. And it's like, well, I can walk right down the hallway and check on this, but you're not just talking about grade checking, like on this whole program. Kind of talk about how you started to like the process to put this whole thing in place, and how you started to do it, not just from a grade standpoint, but to change culture of, and I know you and I talked about it, changing culture from where kids were, yes, I wanted to compete in sports, but have an understanding that academics is important. And like you said, almost to get to the point where it made it fun in a competition to who's doing what and who's keeping track of grades and being able to keep grades up.
Well, the biggest thing you have is a lot of times you have one guy that's in charge of grades. I don't care, like you're saying, Coach, you're at a 1A or a 6A. It doesn't matter. You always have that one guy in charge of grades. Well, then if a kid, let's say Bobby Jack over there fails, well, that head coach is all over the academic coordinator. And it's whether he's in charge of 200 kids or he's in charge of 10 kids, the way we came up with this is make coaches accountable, kids accountable, and actually the whole sport accountable, because we do this in all programs across the board, volleyball all the way to girls track, to girls powerlift, and to football. So it makes everybody accountable for that student athlete's grades. And it doesn't matter, like you're saying, Coach, I've been in a 6A where we've had almost, 5,000 students in there, and we'd have 240 kids in football. And now I'm in a 5A to where we got about 2,500 kids, and we've got about 133 kids in football. But we've got 1,033 student athletes from 7th grade up that we're running this program with, that you see results. And the best thing about it is you're able to identify those 6th graders coming into 7th grade, those 8th graders coming into 9th grade that may basically have grade issues. Or let's say this old Johnny over here and Billy are in the same class and they're a problem, well, we identify those kids for the counselors. So now, Billy and Johnny aren't in the same class giving that teacher heck. So we're able to kind of maneuver things to make it easier on the teachers, and also be able to identify these kids that may be grade issues coming into the 7th grade, and we follow them all the way through they graduate. And once they get done with one sport, for example, you got volleyball going on, you got cross country going on, you got football going on in the fall. And what we do is, once volleyball's done, we take that kid and we transfer them over to, if they're going to basketball or if they're going to girls track. So there's a tracking system in place within this system to where these kids are being tracked year round. Everybody wants to talk about, grades and eligibility in most coaches. And I was guilty of this when I was young, is we just worried about when our sport was going on. All right, it's off season football. I don't worry about the grades. Well, we're checking those grades all through every grading period. There's an emphasis on it. And the best thing about it, Rozy, is that superintendent, he gets the results from our athletic director every grading period. So when he meets, the ADs meet by, whatever, bi-weekly or monthly with your superintendent, they can say, hey, how's everything going in athletics? Well, he knows how the football team's doing. He knows how the basketball team. Let's the girls' soccer grades. They've got 54 kids and 33 of them are failing. Well, what's the problem here? So there's some accountability across the board with the program. And it's really, like I'm saying, we've got kids. When we first put this in 3 years ago, basically they were like, yeah, coach, whatever. They actually are checking their grades to see where they're at, because we want, if they're above 80 and in the program when we get rolling, if you're above 80, you don't go to tutorials. If you're below an 80, you're in mandatory tutorials until you get those grades up. And, what we want to do is we want to have as many academic all-district kids as we get, as well as many academic all-state kids we get. And we make it a competition within the sports, too. So, it's just win losses for dang football coach, basketball coach, soccer coach, softball coach. Bottom line is how many lose, and that's what it is. The numbers never lie. So that's what you got, that grade right there. And let's say, we break the kids down in football groups. We got 12 different coaches, and we put the guy at the top that had nobody fail. You got 3 guys failing. He's got to basically answer to the AD, if you got kids failing. So that's kind of how we came up with it, Rozy.
So let me ask you this, Paul. When you look through this program, is it purely grades, or can you track kids like that? And I know you mentioned and I know they kind of go hand in hand, grades, but maybe you're having some classroom issues or problems. Is there things that come up that you can track with that, or is it purely based on grades, or do you notice correlations between grades and how kids are acting up or behavior wise?
Yeah, I've got a deal in this presentation. We're going to show you basically on the tutorial sheet or on the spreadsheet, because we do 2 different things on how we do it, because the high school is a little bit different than the middle school, because at the high school we got an hour basically for lunch and tutorials, and at the middle school you can't give those kids an hour free time. But what we do is on the tutorial sheet over in the right corner, it may say comments. Well, if Bobby Jack over there is acting up in Coach Rosen's class, then we take care of it, and basically then we keep a log of all those issues with that kid, and we contact the parents too. So it's not only Coach Rozy, if you're teaching English and you're having a problem with Heath Sharr, you're not calling me to tell about Heath Sharr. He's also getting it from his coach and his academic coach and whoever. So those parents are hearing it, and on top of that, parents are getting ultimate feedback, and plus that teacher feels supportive because they don't feel like they're out on an island by themselves having to deal with this kid individually. I'll give you a perfect example. We put this in Marshall, Texas, and that's in East Texas for all you guys that may not know. And it's a little different than the Metroplex. I was a Metroplex guy for 21 years. We had this old boy acting up in a math class, and our athletic director said, Coach, go get him. I'm like, what? Go get him. So I got him out of class. He got changed. This is during the school day. We got him changed. And he goes, Sharr. So I had him out there flipping tires for an hour, 45 minutes. I gave water, and he put his clothes back on, went back to class, and that teacher didn't have a problem with the rest of the year. Now, you can do that in East Texas. Now, you may not be able to do that in South Lake, Texas, but you can do that stuff. And the other thing, guys, we live in a world, listen to this, in Jacksonville, Texas, baby, this freaked me out. You know, a kid doesn't get his tutorial sheet signed in middle school, he gets a SWAT, ba-bam, right across that bottom. I mean, that freaked me out. So but you know, and we're not trying to hurt the kids. What I'm saying is there is a consequence for not getting things done. Now, some parents will say, hey, SWAT them. And we're like, oh, but a lot of times what we do is throughout the program, which I'll show you here in a little bit, it's an accountability deal for the coach, the kid, and the teacher. And it's the easiest thing in the world because, you know, old school, you go in, you give them the tutorial sheet, they're having to fill all this stuff out. And I'll show it to you on the program. The biggest thing is we've already got it filled out. All the kids got to do is get it initialed by the teacher. And then he brings it back the next day and we initial. If it's not initialed at the high school, they go out in the baseball field and they roll 100 yards. And it don't matter what it is. They're rolling and its sprinklers are on and they come back in. It's just there's got to be some type of accountability for these kids to basically understand the importance of grades. And nobody wants to roll at friggin' 7:45 in the morning when it's freezing. Well, it's not cold like South Dakota.
Yeah,
but
don't say freezing cold down in Texas. You don't know what freezing gets. And Coach,
I know, Coach. I know.
Degrees up here in the evening still. We're still waiting for it to get nice. So, well, hey, let me turn this over to you. I'm going to turn over the thing so you can pull your screen up. I know it might take a second, but because I think when people can have a chance to see the whole thing that you were telling me about, and I want to actually see the PowerPoint too that you have, kind of explaining this whole thing, because I think this can really make an impact. You know, and I know you and I were talking about it, of how you're sharing it with people in different areas in different states, and how it can be implemented for maybe a school program, even if they maybe, because you guys use a different system, I think.
I think we use Skyward. Right. But we, you know, if somebody had questions or whatever, I can go over it. The biggest thing is just organizational piece of it, and what's good is I know in South Dakota, I was doing this with some buddies of mine in Michigan last week, and some of them aren't at the same school. So what they can do is they can log on the system and check their kids' grades, basically from, you know, let's say I'm at you know, whatever school, and this coach is at the middle school. Well, he can log on and check this kid's grades whenever he wants, and there's a communication on it. You know what I'm saying? It's really good.
So you'd be teaching at the middle school, but coaching at the high school, and be off site, but still be able to check on everything.
Yeah, everybody can log in, and you know, and I know there's like in Michigan, there were some guys that were like they weren't actually teachers at the school. There's a guy that was like an all-state agent, and then some different things. Yep. Well, that helped them, you know, keep up with their kids. It all goes back to it doesn't fall on that academic guy, or you know, he's in charge of however many number of kids, and he's having to worry about it. So
well, and I'll turn to you, Coach. But yeah, I know, because that's how, like in South Dakota, there's a number of small schools where, like you said, 2 or 3 of the coaches might be, you know, a business owner in town. He's helping out, just he wants to volunteer, maybe play college football, maybe coach, but now he's running a business and still wants to help out. So yeah, I'm going to turn this over to you, Coach. I just got to share this button. Here's my IT work going again, but I think you should have control, Coach. You should. It says
I'm going to jump into this, guys, real quick. There we go. Desktop. There we go. All right. All right, what it is, guys, is like Coach Rozy and I were talking about, is changing the culture academically and athletically. I want to start this off. This is Dathan Sears. When Dathan was in 8th grade, this is his picture in 8th grade. This was 3 years ago. This was Dathan's last football game. His last football game in his 8th grade year was after the 4th game because he was ineligible. Dathan never passed in 7th grade. So once the 4th game hit in 7th grade, he was ineligible the rest of the year. He couldn't pass. Same thing happened with 8th grade. So we get into Jacksonville in 2000, I think it was 2018, and we put this plan into effect. All right, so what we're looking at is student success. All right, every coach is connected to an athletic program by the sport they coach. Okay, whether that's football, soccer, softball, whatever. Most coaches have a plan to check their grades academically within the sport they coach. Okay, the program that we've been using is an easy and efficient way to make everyone accountable for the success of their student athletes. We want everybody bought in, everybody doing the same system, because then it correlates with everybody that's going on. This is where it all starts, guys. We went in, we talked to the board of trustees. We presented this program to the board of trustees. The board of trustees then got told the superintendent, let's put this in. Now you look at this thing and it looks like a lot. This is every student athlete who they're going to come in effect with. They're going to run into the superintendent. They're going to run into principals, counselors, office staff, teachers, athletic department, libraries, coaches, paraprofessionals, technology staff, operational, janitorial people. They're going to talk to cafeteria people. They're all going to change the culture because they're going to understand when they see a kid, hey, how are your grades? That's what we ask the kids. Hey, man, I see you got a B in science with Miss Dooley. What, coach? How'd you know that? Well, you can check him instantaneously. And everybody wants the success of their students. If you get, everybody wants their students to be successful, and this is how we put it in place. What we want to do is we want to build bridges academically and athletically. How do we do that? We build relationships inside the athletic program. You got to reflect the mission statement and the philosophies, but it's got to be connected to the individual programs. Football's got to be connected to the English department. Softball needs to be connected with the math department. You can't have all these people on all these different islands to where they're not all pulling on the same rope and they're not all in. It's really big. In order for everyone to have a connection in athletic, they got to have ownership. Communication and cooperation is imperative. We communicate with our teachers weekly, sometimes every other day. Teachers, and I'll get into this, they have our emails, they have our coaches' cell numbers. They can communicate because as well as I do, any effective business, whether it's a school district, it's a hospital, whatever it is, you got to communicate. And we over-communicate. Some people are like, man, coach, we just got that. Why do we need that again? We want them to know what's going on. This can be facilitated through open door. Our doors are always open for teachers. We want to have clear lines of communication.
I'm going to interrupt you real quick. Do you have any problem with parents knowing that, hey, like maybe they don't want everybody to know or is that just part of the program and you just say to the parent, like, he's part of this team and he's part of the system. We want everybody to help him. It's a help thing, not a negative thing. If I have a kid who's an F student, it's like, I don't want all the people in the school to know my kid's a knucklehead. Do you have any problems or issues with that?
No, we don't. Now we don't put, a lot of this things like that. Like if a kid's acting up in class or something, don't share that with the whole. We just share it with that teacher and communication. And I'll get into where we do some parent stuff during the parent meetings too, Coach.
Okay.
So, and we also want to get our parents involved. Because some parents, they don't know how to check their kids' grades. You know what I'm saying? Or how to get on the system to where they got access and they can check their kids' grades and ask their kid, hey, why do you got a dang 67 in friggin' algebra 3 right here? So, and we also want to get in our feeder programs. Another thing, the tutorial plan is a concrete way to build bridges with the faculty, administration, and parents. Everybody wants their kids to make A's and B's. Let's be honest.
Right.
Everybody wants their kids, and we sell that. The tutorial plan needs to be presented in a way that students' best interests are the utmost importance. When we present this program, and I'll get into it here in a few minutes, we present it to all of our coaches first, and then we present it to the faculty, staff at the high school, and the intermediate school. In the intermediate school, it's 5th and 6th grade. You're going, coach, you're going to introduce that early? Heck yeah, we are. We get this in kids' heads. As the architect of the blueprint, you will need to be proactive in your approach. There's going to be things that come up that you're not going to, you're going to go, whoa, what do we do on this thing? What do we do on that thing? Give you a perfect example. If they're in AP classes in Jacksonville, Texas, every other school I went to, like they get an AP, they get 10 points on their final grade every grade period. Here, they don't get any points till the semester and they get 7. So if a kid's taking an AP class and is making a 69, he's getting 69 in that class. He doesn't get those points that he would in another AP class in other district. You've got to know what the local district rules are and things on that. So, those are things that may come up and you'll have to deal with those when they're here. Questions and situations need to be anticipated. You need to be clear and concise detail. There's all kinds of questions that come up and I'll answer them like you, Rosie, you got something when I'm doing this, we'll just interact and talk about it.
Okay.
Expectations. We meet with our coaching staff 3 weeks before, actually football starts, to go over the stuff with the whole entire coaching staff. It doesn't matter if they're a JV girls soccer coach, they're going to understand the expectations of this athletic academic program. The biggest thing is a year-round process. We're not just going to do it during football season or soccer season or softball season. We're going to make these kids eligible all year round. And I'll show you towards the end how we break it down and everybody's got to turn in stuff. It's awesome. Everyone will remain eligible all year. Keep stressing that, okay? If you have a kid fail, I'll tell you right now, that's not a good situation. You got to answer to the athletic director, and you have to answer to me, and it's not fun because I'm a pain in the rear end. I want to know why somebody's failing, because the way I look at it, you got to look in the mirror. If the kid's not passing, you're doing something wrong. You're not following them or tracking them. Support academics, an integral part of the athlete's life. We stress academics. I'm not going to lie to you. We got great athletes at Jacksonville, Texas. We got great athletes. I'm not going to lie to you. Do those great get lazy in the classroom? Yes. And that's where the motivational thing needs to be coming. We stress to them how important the academics is. Encourage it all the time, all the time. We offer ACT tutorial programs, starting with our 9th graders on ACT free tutorial deal. We put that in place. Those kids come in during their lunch hour. If they don't have tutorials and they get on there and they practice ACT, it's free. Things like that. Work hand in hand with everybody's working with the student athlete. I stress that. You know, if we get an assistant principal, like you were saying, Coach Rozy, and we get a kid that's acting up, and that assistant principal, he'll reach out to the coach first, or she will, and say, hey, can you help me out with him? And we do. We talk to him and let him know, hey, this is a problem, and we need to get it fixed, because if we don't get it fixed, it's going to get worse with us. So you're always hand in hand. You know, sometimes when a kid goes to the principal, it's not instantaneously something bad's going to happen to them immediately. They communicate with us to try to get us to help them fix it before something, you know, gets worse. Right. And monitor the academic process of your athletes and your academic team. Everybody's got an academic team, and I'll show you that here in a little bit. I've got 15 kids that are on my academic team, and I've got them, and they're mine, and I know everything about them. And identify, we talked about this, we need to identify incoming 9th graders that had grade issues at that 7th and 8th grade. We need to identify 7th graders that had issues. We put this pilot program in at the 5th and 6th grade last year, and I'll go over a little bit of that. But contact parents, let them know of academic shortcomings. We're not just calling parents to tell them, hey, you know, your son's acting up in class. Hey, you know, Chris got a dang 99 on his AP anatomy and physiology class. Parents want to hear that. It's like watching the news. Everything you see on the freaking news nowadays is negative. They need to put somebody on there saying, hey, this guy just friggin' donated $3 million to this friggin' this internet service so kids can get on the internet and play games all day. It's all negative. Give them positive stuff. Everybody wants positive. That's what they call me, Positive Paulie. All right. So this is kind of a sheet, and I couldn't put names on it. You know, you don't right. Put names, but basically it's got the kid's last name, first name, and then if they're in red, they've been a grade problem. So we identify those kids, and then blue, those kids that are in blue, they don't need to be in the same class. Purple is for office referrals, and then brown is some other kids that don't need to be in the same class. So, you know, if they've got them all across the board, then we really need to focus on. But the way you do it is you think about this as a counselor. You don't know when these kids are coming in if you don't identify them. You may get all the kids in blue in one class, and if you can make their life easier when they come in, those kids come in on that teacher, just think of the relationship you're going to have with that teacher. Because you know as well as I do, there's some teachers that they get all the kids that act up. They're the ones that can do it. And then you got these teachers that get out there 1 or 2 years, and they're teaching all these AP kids. They have never had general population. So, you know, it's just one of those deals. It's one of those deals where you're trying to get this to the incoming 7th grade counselors and incoming 9th grade counselors so you can identify. This is a great way for us to communicate. Now we're communicating. We went over expectation with the coaches. Now we're going over communication. Coaches need to be communicating with everybody on staff. If I've got a kid failing our soccer coach's Spanish class, I better be talking to that Spanish coach. You know, this is something that I get a kick out of. I don't ever ask anybody to give a kid a grade, ever. But I'm going to tell you right now, if I've got a kid failing my class or a kid that's failing a coach, I'm going to call that coach and say, what are we doing to get that kid to do that? I had a guy named Jim Bennett. I'll never forget this. This was back in 1999. And he had a staff meeting, and he said, if any coach fails a kid, you will be. And I looked at him like, holy cow. But he wasn't asking us to give points. What he was asking was, you do everything in your power to communicate with that teacher and that kid. You make them sit down and they do the work. Because it's real easy. Oh, he's not passing, coach. Well, what do I to do. You need to look yourself in the mirror and say, hey, I need to go get that kid to his English class and do that. And you have to do that sometimes. So you got to be communicating with the staff. Coaches shouldn't have students fail in their class. I'm going to tell you right now, I go nuts if a coach fails a kid or fail in that class. I get to meet with him with the athletic director and say, hey, what's going on? Because that kid, coaches, wherever you're at, they've got that relationship. You know, if they're not doing anything, let me know. I'll take them out and they'll roll them. I'll roll them. And they'll get it done. I promise you they'll get it done because they don't want to roll. I'm telling you, people do not. They're to grass. You ever heard that one, guys? They're allergic to grass. I can't roll, coach. I'm allergic to grass. Okay. Next one. Here we go. When a student finishes sport, like I was talking about volleyball, she gets done playing volleyball. Let's say she's going to basketball. What we do is we move that kid over. We move that kid over to basketball. She's still on the volleyball thing because she's going to come back and play volleyball the next year. So now you got two coaches tracking her grades. So she runs into, you know, coach so-and-so for volleyball. Hey, I saw you got a 72 in math. What? Well, coach, I'm not in season. Yeah, you are. You're my athlete too. You know, it gets that collaboration of coaches talking for the simple fact of we know what your grades all the time. Coaches need to build a relationship with everybody on campus. Guys, you know it's important. You know, the most important people to me, and I learned this a long time ago, are the friggin' operation janitorial people. Everything that's going on with kids. You need to build relationships with them. You need to build relationships with the paraprofessionals. Everybody. It doesn't take time to say, hey, how you doing today? How's Chris doing in your English class? Or a lot of times, guys, kids are going to talk to those guys because they're around them a lot. We got a guy that does laundry at our place. Thank God we don't have to do laundry anymore. I've been doing laundry for years, but we got a guy that does laundry. And he sits, you know, he does laundry, hangs out the locker room. Those kids tell him everything that's going on. They'll tell him, you know, if he's having girlfriend problems or whatever. So, you know, you gotta have that connection of what's going on. Coaches need to support each other. We need to support each other. And I stress that. Don't just help them during the dang football season, soccer season, whatever. You support each other. They need you to help cover a class. We go help cover a class for that coach. Something comes up, they got an emergency. You know, we want the athletes not to just be successful in class. We want them to be successful in life. And this is the communication piece. Now we go to accountability. Here's the accountability. Coaches need to have their tutorial sheets ready every Monday. When a student walks through their door, whatever athletic period they have, we have athletics first period. They come in at 7:30 in the morning. They're getting their tutorial sheets before they get dressed. Basically, they get that. I'll go over that in a little bit. Coaches need to check tutorial sheets the next day. So when they come in the next day at 7:30 in the morning, we're checking their tutorial sheet. We don't go find them and say, hey, we need your tutorial sheet. We initial it. If it ain't initialed, they're out in the outfield rolling, or if you're at the middle school, you're getting a SWAT. I don't give SWATs. I'm scared to death to do that. I'm afraid I'll bust that board on somebody's bottom. It don't work. But there's accountability right there. The next thing is coaches need to be consistent across the board. If you're going to roll those kids in football, then when baseball's going on and they don't show up, you got to do the same thing. You can't just say, oh, it's okay. You can get your tutorial sheet signed some other time, because kids talk. And when one group knows they're not compared to the other, it messes the whole deal up. So we come across, we do it across the board. Everybody's doing the same thing. And we've got athletic periods where our girls are during the middle of the day during lunch. So they'll come in. So they keep up with their tutorial sheet. Coaches have a high failure rate on the academic. They need to take it personally. Seriously. If they've got a lot of people failing, you're not doing a good job. Sorry, it's the truth. Numbers never lie. You know, look in the mirror and figure it out. Are you doing everything to help that kid be successful? That's important. Pick up tutorial sheets on Friday. We pick them all up on Friday, and we keep them in a folder for every kid. I'll give you a perfect example. What happened when we did this the first year? We got this kid. He's not failing any classes. I mean, every single grade check we take every Sunday night before we give it out to him on Monday, the second to last week, he's got 32 in a class. And I emailed the teacher. I'm like, hey, what's going on? Oh, coach, he hadn't been turning stuff in. So I said, have you not been putting grades in? No, he hadn't been putting grades in. So there's a little hiccup. You want to communicate with your principal or assistant principals and make sure teachers are putting grades in. I understand teachers get busy. Totally understand. But we don't want it to sneak up and bite us on the bottom in, you know, that 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th week, whatever grading period you're on. and then make sure everything's getting turned in on time. They've got specific stuff that they've got to turn into me with a list of people that are below 80, that, you know, making sure the breakdown sheets and all that stuff. I'll get into that. All right, here's basically our academic calendar. We go over this with the coaches. Everybody's eligibility. October 1st, we got to check grades for the first 6 weeks. We're on 9-week grading periods, but in the state of Texas, the UIO checks grades at 6 weeks. So we check kids at 6 weeks. So if they're failing at that 6 weeks, the following week, they lose eligibility. This is what's crazy. 8 days after we check grades at 6 weeks, we check them again for 9 weeks. And it breaks down the whole process. We give this to the coaches, we give this to the teachers, and we post it on our website, and we give it to the parents during the coaches' meetings of their sports, so parents know what's going on. All the parents know exactly what's going on. Some people think the grading period may end on a Friday. Well, when you come back for Christmas, you got to have 7 days, so it's a Monday. Then you have Martin Luther King holiday, so you adjust that. And you've got some other things, spring break and things. So everybody needs to be on the same page when you're talking about the academic calendar, because what you don't want is to sneak up and you got a kid ineligible and you're playing an ineligible kid. And that does happen. It doesn't happen with us, or I'll be looking for a job. So, you know, it's one of those deals. That's what happens. So this is kind of the academic calendar. All right, so we've had the talk with all the coaches. Now, what I do is I go in and I meet with all the teachers at the high school, and we basically go over the same stuff. We're gonna have it year-round process. It's not just for in-sports seasons. We talk about making sure they're eligible. We talk about being an integral part in supporting the teachers. We're going to support you. You've got to let us know. Some teachers don't communicate with the coach because they're just like, oh, nothing's going to happen. We want to communicate. Sometimes we go to their door and I'll say, hey, what's going on? You need anything? What's going on? Make that contact. You know, academic excellence. We go over the same meeting basically with the teachers that we've already went over with the coaches. Monitor the progress. You know, let them know of the shortcomings with parents. Mandatory tutorials. Now, this is something that I do want to cover. So, you know, like here in Texas, we have the STAR test. And sometimes when kids don't pass the STAR test during our tutorial time, they have got to go to mandatory STAR testing, because if they don't pass some of them tests, they don't graduate high school. So that takes precedence over our tutorials. But all they do is they get that sheet signed showing that they were there. So then there's no, oh, I wasn't doing. Because some of the kids, I'll walk around the hallways during our powwow time, and I'll get to that in a little bit. And they're supposed to be in tutorials like, oh, coach, I don't have it. Well, you didn't get it signed, so you're rolling or whatever's happening. So mandatory tutorials take precedence over the academics, athletic tutorials. All right. If you have below an 80, you're in mandatory tutorials for athletics. And people, I've gotten many discussions with parents. Well, coach, that's not right. If it's a 70, they should. Well, if you make a 0 with an 80, you're going to be at like a 68 or something. You make a 0 with a 70, you're probably going to be at a 58 or something. So our expectation is we want every kid to be above an 80, because if every kid's above an 80, they're on AB honor roll. I mean, and that's a goal for our athletic program. We go over the academic calendar with the teachers. Sometimes you get new teachers, they don't understand. You got to go over it. You know what I'm saying? It goes back to what I was talking about earlier. You've got to over communicate. You've got to let people know what's going on. Go over the academic calendar with them. We email them. I email them once a week to say, hey, we're on week 3. This is a grade check. And then we go over it, because we're on 9 weeks. After we check grades at the 3 weeks, we check them again at the 9 weeks. And then basically some kids are like, after they pass the 9 weeks, coach, I'm good for 9 more weeks. Well, they are, but you want to keep, if they're ineligible, they gain at a 3-week mark, a 6-week mark, and then a 9-week mark. So there's things there. Communication, same thing with the teachers. We want faculty and staff to get a breakdown. We send a list, and I'll show you. It's got every kid that's in football and who their academic coach is. We send out volleyball, who their academic coach is. These teachers now can look and go, hey, you know, Chris Rapp right here, he's in tennis and he's acting like a goofball. I need to get a hold of Coach Hannah. So now those teachers know what sports are in, instead of going, are you an athlete? They already got it. The kids know they got it. So now the teacher can look at the kid and go, hey, I'm going to get a hold of Coach Hannah because you're acting up. What? How'd you know that? So everybody's all in. Faculty and staff get a master list of the head coaches, all their contact information. They're going to get their name. They're going to get their email. They're going to get their cell phone. They're going to have the head coach's cell phone number so they can call them at any time or email. Coaches will stay in constant communication with faculty and staff, not just during in season. Because some of our football kids, I'm not going to lie to you, they'll start slacking off after football season. We have to put a little fire underneath their rear end and get them going. We do, believe me. And then they get their grades, they get their A's and B's up and stuff. Coaches will do everything they can to support. I can't stress that. I cannot stress it. Those teachers need to know that you're going to do something. Another thing we do for the teachers, beginning of the year, we do a breakfast. The kids, like, sometimes we'll cook breakfast, sometimes we'll get Chick-fil-A sandwiches. The kids serve the teachers. They're going to be servant leaders in the community and within the school, so those teachers feel good. You want teachers to be feeling good, because basically, I think a lot of parents nowadays right now with this COVID-19 are realizing, holy cow, man, those teachers are doing a lot for my kid. Seriously, and some of them are like, I'll be honest with you, I'm sitting there going, yeah, some of these people are starting to see how their kids act every now and then. So, yeah, that's a joke. Laugh at it. All right, here we go. We talk with our faculty about 67, 68, and 69s. We don't want that. I can't tell them not to give them. I'll remember this. I go back to this lady. I go back to Irving High, Carolyn Dowler. Never forget her name. She walked in one day. I'm a young coach. She goes, if you give a 67, 69, I cannot back you. Give them a 65. You know, and that's what we do. We talk about it. We're not telling them to give them grades, ever. What we're telling them is, what can they do to possibly get that fixed, to get it up? And we also talk about this. We talk about 79s, 89s, and 99s. We take this to a whole nother level with our athletic scholarships, and not an athletic scholarship. Kids that are wanting to go to college with their grades, they got to understand that 79 is costing them a point on their GPA, that 89 is costing them a point on their GPA. So that 1 point makes a difference for their semester averages, and it can also get them more money in college. Even if they don't get an athletic scholarship, they can get an academic scholarship. We stress the heck out of teachers. This is basically the sheet. It'll have a coach, like this is football, and it has the coach, and there'll be like 12 to 15 names there. I just kind of showed it there, and it's basically, we send that to the teacher, so they know this is football. This is Coach Rapp's team. If you got a problem, you get a hold of them, and it's got their names in alphabetical order. And every single teacher at the high school, middle school, and intermediate school knows what kids, who's got their deal. Because you know as well as I do as parents, sometimes you know that teacher, but you may not know their exact coach in 9th grade. You may not know. You contact that coach. Here's a sheet for the head coach. It's got football, contact coach, cell phone number, email. You just put it in there, send it to all the teachers. They've got it. Teachers can call a coach immediately. I'm not going to lie to you. When I was the assistant athletic director in Marshall, my name was on that list of any problems. My phone would blow up at least once a day to go get a kid. And sometimes there were girls acting up. And I take the girls out of class, and we do some rolls or flips, or we do some good cardiovascular to let them know how important it is to get their grades done and active. Here's the contact sheet. So if we have an issue or something, or we just want to contact the parent and tell them, hey, Christy got a 99 in the class. We just put this down. So we're making contact with, now this is with the faculty and staff. I've got a parent one after this. So if, excuse me. So if, Coach Prescott emailed me and says, hey, Sharr, so-and-so's problem in so-and-so's class. I write it down. He's on my academic team. So then if mom and dad come up to meet and say, hey, coach, what's going on with my kid? Hey, he's doing this stuff good. Look, he's accountability. Students will attend tutorial times. This is the thing we stress to the teachers. There's going to be kids that come in with the tutorial sheet, and I'm going to get to the tutorial sheet in a minute, and we'll say, just sign this. They sit in there, and they do the work that's done. If they don't do the work, you don't sign it. And then if they give you a hard time, they email their coach, their academic coach, and it's dealt with that second. I don't care. It's dealt with that second. Because kids are going to go and go, here, sign this. I was at tutorials. Or they're going to come back and say, coach, my teacher didn't have tutorials on that day. Yeah, they did. We've got a master sheet of where kids are at. Explain the process, and I'll go over that here in a second, how we do it. Coaches will enforce the importance of getting them initialed every day by the teachers and the coach. Coaches need to check tutorial sheets the next day to make sure they're initialed. If it's not initialed, student athlete will have a reminder. Coaches will be consistent across the board. All athletes need to have a grade above 80 to be exempt from tutorials. pick up tutorial sheets on Friday. Now, if they're above an 80 and they want to go to tutorials, we let them go to tutorials. We just don't make them sign the sheet. You know what I'm saying? Because some kids, some kids are wanting to make straight A's. We don't do that. All right. Here's the tutorial sheet. All right. So this is what happens on Sunday night. We'll run a dang grade, and I'll show you how to run the program in a minute. So I've got Paul Sharr right here. If he's below an 80, what I do is up in that right corner, it's got English, the teacher's name. He's got a 62. I go from lowest to highest. Okay. What that kid does is that kid knows on Monday he's going to English. He's putting the date, the class, the time in, and then all he's got to do is sit that on the teacher's desk. When he's done, the teacher initials it. He writes the timeout. If it's a concern like you were talking about, Coach Rozy, kids acting up, that teacher puts her in concern. Or let's say the kid's acting really good, puts a really nice thing there. All right. Then Tuesday, they go to math. Wednesday, they go to chemistry, and then we start back over. All right. Sometimes teachers may not have tutorials at that time. Then what we do is we have this thing called powwow. It's the best thing I've ever seen in all the years I've been doing it. From 12:20 to 1:20 every day, our kids during powwow, they learn pow during wow tutorials. They want then they go eat their lunch and hit different tutorial sessions there. At the middle school, it's a little bit different. We go off spreadsheets, and I'm going to show you that in a minute. But this is the tutorial sheet. Honestly, it takes about 10 minutes to fill out the tutorial sheet for about 15 kids after you run the report. And I'll get to how to run the report here in a little bit. All right, now here's the tutorial sheet for our middle school kids. We've got days. This is a Thursday day. All the kids that are in yellow, they are mandatory tutorials. So they've got some type of star, some type of review stuff to pass the star. Then the other kids basically are on the other side. We got 12 kids in every tutorial session. This is the easiest way to do it with middle schools. We don't give them tutorial sheets. When the kid shows up, does tutorials, they delete the kid's name. It's on a Google document, and basically we can check the kids that went tutorials that day, write them down, and when they come down to athletics for 7th and 8th grade, we take care of it right there. Because 7th and 8th grade kids, they're going to lose the tutorial sheets. It's just that's what happens. I mean, we're getting them indoctrinated to do this. We do this the same thing at 6th grade. 6th grade knows where to go. They know they're deleted. If the teacher forgets to delete them and we roll them, then that kid also goes back and says, hey, why didn't you? And, it's just an easy communication. We could do this at the high school too if we needed to, but we want to make them be more accountable with that tutorial sheet to come show us. Parents, this is one thing. We do a deal with the parents on tutorials. We have every coach that has their first meeting of the year, they'll have a parent meeting over softball or baseball or whatever it is. We go over the whole tutorial program with them. They know exactly what's going on. We make home visits. I'll be honest with you. When I was a head coach, I made home visits. I visited 122 kids' houses in 2.5 months. I thought my wife was going to leave me. She did. The thing being is you want to make the connection, because some of those parents may not be able to make it to that parent meeting because they have jobs. They work at night or whenever that parent meetings. You want to go make that connection with the parents. It's very important. Coaches need to communicate the plan to the parents. Talked about that. Show them how to check grades and scale or whatever student management thing you're doing. Some parents, guys, we have kids and we have parents in our town. They don't have internet. They don't. So basically, we communicate. We've got a thing called Sports U. It's unbelievable. It's free. It's something I want to talk to Coach Rozy about when we get done to kind of show some coaches up there. A communication piece where that parent can email us through Sports U and we can tell them, hey, here's your son's grade or whatever if they're having a hard time. It's amazing on how much the parents appreciate the communication. Show parents grade checks. Show how the grade checks go. We show them. If they don't know how to, we show them how to check the grades on the internet. Give parents information of academic scholarships. I'm not just talking about, if your kid's a great baseball player, I'm wanting them to know about the dang Jim Howe $5,000 scholarship if you're in ag. You've got to give these kids everything they want. We've got a career in technology lady that takes care of our kids in academic, but we really focus on our athletes too that are in extracurricular activities like ag and band and all. We're trying to give them more information so they can get more money, because not every kid's going to get a football scholarship, baseball, softball, soccer. But if they have really, really good grades, they're going to get a lot of money for those really, really good grades. And some kids look at that like, yeah, coach, that's not a scholarship. Yeah, it is. It's free money. And if you're a parent, you love that. We want to give parents the tools for their students athletes to be successful. You know, and that goes back to what the whole thing is. What our expectation of their kid is, what our communication is with the kid, and what the dang the communication and then the accountability. You got to have the accountability. You know, if nobody's making any money accountable, nobody's going to be successful. All right. Here's our parent log. Let's say I call Kenny Kennedy's dad. I put the student's name, the person in contact, reason I'm contacting. Hey, I want to let you know Coda got a 97 on his geometry test. You know, put cell phone text messages, whatever. Just make that connection. I'll tell you right now, that's what we're doing right now with Zoom meetings and all that with our kids. We have Zoom meetings every Wednesday with our defensive line at 10:07 in the morning. 10:07, they remember that. It's a good thing. Our head coach has a meeting every Tuesday with our staff. You know, so everybody's doing it. It doesn't hurt. I call kids' parents. Hey, how's he doing? Is he waking up? Is he doing things? Parents want to hear from you. Here's the student management system we use. It doesn't matter whether it's Skyward or whatever you use. You gotta go talk to the director of technology. This is something that you have to do. It's once access is set up, it takes about, honestly, once it's set up, it takes about, I'd say, less than a minute to check grades. And I'm going to walk you through it here in a minute. When setting up the academic teams, like perfect example. I'm going to give Coach Hall an academic team. Well, Coach Hall, he's going to be the leader of that academic team. I'm going to have access to it. Our offensive coordinator is going to have access to it. Our defense coordinator is going to have access to it, and our athletic director. So we can check those grades. And that same thing with, you know, let's say girls soccer. The head soccer coach is going to have an academic. The assistant soccer coach is going to have access. I'm going to have access. The AD is going to have access. When setting up the teams to run reports fast and efficiently, very easy. I'll show you how to do that. All right, so here's what you do. You got to set the team up. And like I said, Coach Rozy, if they don't have Skyward, what I'll do is I can walk them through whatever their program is. But ours is Skyward. So we're setting the team up. We hit student management. We go to office. Then we go to activities. It seems like a lot what I'm talking about, but it goes that quick when I'm setting it up too. Then basically, you go to the code. It's football, Sharr, extracurricular. All we're doing is academics, using for grades. Nobody can alter this. Like let's say this is my academic team. Oh my gosh, Chris has got a 67. I can't go in there and alter. All I can do is read it when I set this up. And that's why it's academic. So nobody can change the grades except the actual teacher, but I've got access to it. Then basically, this is my academic team. So I basically have to want to be to it. I've got who the leader is, and then I look up names. Like I want Coach Coleman, so I put Coleman, and then I add them to the group to this academic team. Is it making sense, Coach?
Yes, sir. Yep.
Okay. So then here's the academic team right here. So you got Sharr's the leader, and then below Sharr there would be the people that have access. Now we're going to add students. So I click on add students. Basically what you do is all these kids' names will come up underneath select, and you just click them. Well, actually, you type their last name down here at number 1. Number 2, you select them, and you just select all your kids, then you save it, and they're already saved. And then basically, here's your student roster of your kids. It's got their name, their grade, their age, their gender, and awards. So that's there. Now what I want to do is I want to go run a report. All right, so the team's set up, right? So basically, I go into educate and access, go to teacher access. I go to activities, bang. I go search and report card summary. All the kids' names come up. Now, here's my options. What I want to do is I'll go below 80. I'll do below 80, and then basically select the buckets, which is my grading period, and then view things. So it's going to run a report for every kid. On this one's report, any kid that's got below 100. So we're going to get it. Then basically, these are all, you just check, this is basically every grading period that I want. All right. Then you select students report. You hit print. It's not going to print. All it's going to do is show up on the screen. Display report. So it's running the report. And then here's all your grades. Here's the kid's name. Here's the classes. PR1 was a 6 weeks. PR2 or PR1 was the 9 weeks. PR2 or no, yeah, 6 weeks, 9 weeks grading period T1. So there's the grades. You just go down. Like I was saying, this kid, this kid's got he's above 80 and everything. But if there's a kid that doesn't, let's go down some. No, if there's a kid below 80, you just write it down. And you, like I said, you go back to the buckets. You can, let's say I just want to look at PR1 for that grading period. You can get rid of all the stuff, and all it does is show PR1. So basically, I write down on that grade sheet the kids that are below 80, and boom, you're done with that one. And that's how quick the report is. It seemed like a lot, but you go back to it and you just click, click, click. There's the report. Now, here's where the competition comes in place. I send this to every coach in the program at every grading period. They put the sport, who the coach is, how many players they got, how many failed, percentage that failed, A, B honor roll, A honor roll. I want the student with the highest GPA, and I want his GPA by his name. Then they're going to break down with an honor roll. They're going to give me their honor roll for their team. A, B honor roll. This is the big thing. If they get below a 70, I want to know who the teacher is. So we can run a report. Is there one teacher that's having a lot of issues or whatever, to where maybe we can get that kid some help in that teacher? So they do this right here, and they send it to me. So here we go. Here's football, for example. Coach number 1, that was me, 17 kids. All right. I had 0 fail. I had 0 percentage fail. I had 1 honor roll, A honor, and then 8 AB honor rolls. So these are the kids. But you get down here, you got 14 kids, 2 failed, 14%. See what I'm saying? Look at this. You got 9 kids, 2 failed. That's 22%. That wasn't going very good for that guy, to say the least. That guy wasn't in a very good meeting. Then basically you put the kids' top GPA. This is just football, though. I'm fixing to show you all the sports that are pretty cool. How many A honor roll, how many AB honor roll, and then how many failures. Then the thing that we do, you fail. This is the thing. You fail a grading period. You are outside rolling every day until the next grading period. Okay? So there's some incentive. Now, with the same thing is when we do the grade checks, the team with the highest, any kid that makes AB honor roll, they go to Denny's. They get Denny's. They go to Denny's every grading period, AB honor. Then the A honor roll guys, they get to pick and there's an incentive for them, and it's legal until we can do that. All right. So now here's the breakdown, Coach Rozy. Here we go. Every sport. Football, we had 133 kids. We had 9 fail, 7 percentage. There you go. 40 AB honor roll. Cross country. So you look down here, look, boys soccer, you got 75 kids, 10 of them failed, 13% failure rate. So look, out of 519 athletes at the high school, 50 of them failed, 10% of them failed. We had 30 A honor rolls and 134 AB. Now we go to the middle school. Right there, we got 10 dang girls failing, 10%, and then 10 tennis, he's got 60 kids, 17%. So they had 5. We had 1,033 athletes and 94 failed. 9% of our student athletes fail. I want 0, but if you're under 10%, that's phenomenal. 71 A honor roll and 330 AB honor roll. That's what I'm talking about. There it is. Numbers don't lie. It goes to the superintendent. You can talk to those coaches. Now what we did, this is the pilot program we put in at the 6th grade. For the first 6 weeks, we identified 57 kids that failed. All right. So this was the second grading period. Here's the first grading period down here. We had 306 kids total. The 57 kids that failed the first 6 weeks, and then the 143 girls and 143 girls, 106 boys. 306 of them, we had 83 of them kids failed the first 6 weeks, 27%, 19. We put this in place, and within 3 weeks, we went from 83 to 62, 20, 24, 98. So we're implementing that in 6th grade so they understand how important grades are. You know what I'm saying? So it's there for them. All right, so the review. Let's talk about the review. Make students eligible year-round. Support everybody. Everybody's supported. Work hand in hand with everybody working with the academic teams. We want parents involved. We want all that stuff. Make sure student athletes are getting tutorial sheets signed. contact teachers and parents of everything, and then review. Basically, we want to build relationships with with our administrative faculty staff every day, not just once a day, not just during football season or soccer season, all the dang time. Keep a folder on every student athlete. Identify student athletes that may have issues going into 7th and 9th grade. Here's Dathan now. That's the kid that couldn't pass anything in 7th and 8th grade. Dathan, this is him as a junior right now. When he got 9th grade, he didn't fail. He did not fail one class. He's eligible the whole year. Okay. Did he make a honor roll that 9th grade year? No. Now, sophomore year, he's on the AB honor roll. Okay, this is a kid that couldn't pass anything in 7th and 8th grade, started passing in 9th grade. All right, so his sophomore year, he got injured, messed up his neck. This is Dathan this fall. Couldn't play football. AB honor roll student. He videos for us and helps me with the D-line. This changed this kid's life because he worried about his academics. Could he have went and probably played in college in football? Yeah, he was that good of an athlete. But he understands how important it is to make those grades. And he's probably going to go to college, you know, working with an athletic department, doing some filming and some different stuff in his grades. So it does work. It doesn't matter. It works. Here's some contact information if you need to get a hold of me. Like I said, I'll be more than happy. Like if you don't have Skyward, I'd love to talk to you about how to implement. If I believe in it, I wouldn't ask Coach Rozy to talk about it. It's a game changer. You got questions, Coach? I'm ready to roll.
Yeah, no, I just think that whole thing. I'm going to pull you off of this. Coaches, yeah, it's just so important. We talk about it all the time. I know a lot of times it's lip service. I know we tell kids about how important the, grades are and how important that going to class and grades and everything else. I think this is just one of those things that when you have this in place, it just shows the kids, like you said, the numbers don't lie and your actions don't lie either. When you're telling kids it's important and you're showing the kids that it's important, and the teachers and administration, everybody does. It's just such an important part because, and we've talked about it before, how many high school kids are actually going to go on and play sports in college. But if they have the academics, they're going to have an opportunity to move on and do some things. Maybe not play sports, but have a chance to go play college or go to college that they might not have done before if they don't have those grades. And we know athletics helps keep some of those kids in athletics, because if they didn't have sports, they might not be in school. So it's like, let's use, sports as the hook to help them out.
And like you and I were talking before we got on, one of the big things is we've got some coaches that aren't actually at the high school, whether it's football or soccer or softball. They can log in from their school and basically get access immediately. And then, like I was talking to you earlier also, I was doing a visit with some guys up in Michigan last week. They've got a guy that's an all-state agent, and he comes over and coaches, and they've got a couple other guys that maybe run some restaurants, and they get that connection to where it doesn't fall all on that academic person. That teacher, that coach can contact that teacher that's having issues and things like that, and it
Right.
builds that relationship. Even if you're not on campus, you're communicating, and that helps out everybody that's in the process of that student athlete, because we want this. It goes back to what we talked about at the very beginning. We want success of this student athlete, not just in the classroom, in life. And if everybody's helping that student athlete, that kid's going to be successful. You're going to build a really, really tight bond within that school and that culture of everybody taking great pride in their academics.
Right. Yeah, I really like that, Coach. That's good stuff. That's what I wanted to get you on when we were talking a couple weeks ago about it. I just think that's amazing. And we'll post your information up too. So if some coaches, schools want to contact you, again, you can get a hold of us just at Coach Rozy here on Facebook information. I can get you in touch with Coach Sharr. You can ask us questions, but we'll make sure you get your question answered and get hooked up. So, Paul, I appreciate you coming on, brother, and sharing that. That's good stuff. And I know you're talking to people literally across the country about it, to put the program in place at different schools, not just in Texas, but all over. So like you said, I think the big thing is, I know different schools in different areas use different systems. Yeah. I'm so out of it now, it could be the strength coach, but it can be adapted to almost any system you get to, right?
Yeah, the big thing I could talk, it's just, you sit down with that technology person and you get it whipped out. Like, I'm not a big techno guy, but sitting down with that technology person, them saying, here you go, coach, here's what you do. And you can also, within that system of just check grades, you can check missed assignments. You can check all kinds of stuff on that deal. So it's just a great way to communicate. and it's a great way to track the kids. You know what I'm saying? It's a game changer in everything you do.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate it, Coach. And again, good seeing you, brother. And happy birthday.
Hey man, crazy deal, crazy
Yeah,
deal.
we'll reach out, gang. Seriously, if anybody has questions, you can just email us right here, or just drop a message right here on Coach Rozy Facebook page. My email address, and I'll post that up too, is just rozyrosen@gmail.com. And just say, hey, I'd love to get in touch with Coach Sharr. We'll make sure we get that information. I'll post that up here on the Facebook page too. But if you have questions, get a hold of me, and I'll make sure you guys get in contact with Coach Sharr, because I know he'll bend over backwards to help you out too. If you haven't got that, he's pretty full of energy, so you better drink a cup of coffee when you get on the line with him, because he'll get you taken care of. Though, like I said, I've known him for years and years, and anytime I need anything, he's a phone call away. So I appreciate that, Paulie, that you're always there and all your help.
I love you, brother.
Love you, man. Hey, appreciate it. Hey, when's school? What's happening with summer stuff down there with you guys?
We're kind of in just waiting. You know, some people are thinking maybe after the 4th of July, but it's just, you know, waiting for the results and everything. I think of a lot of it's going to depend on what the NCAA does, because, you know, our UIL, our University Interscholastic League's amazing, and they do a great job of keeping in touch with the NCAA and all that stuff. So, you know, they're just being cautious and things like that. Probably like, you know, they can go out, you know, they've opened up the restaurants, I guess, to, you know, 25% and things like that, but there's nothing can be at the school still, which I really think that's a safe, you know, the number one deal. And it doesn't matter what state you're in. It's just the safety of everyone, you know?
Yeah.
So.
And that's where we're at right now. You know, the schools are still, we actually started this week was open up and did boot camps for small numbers of people, but the schools are still closed. We're still not training kids. Nothing's open for gym wise, and our facility's not open to train yet, but we're probably same thing looking at hopefully maybe July if that happens. But if not, you know, we're doing some other options and using online stuff too. So trying to help the kids out as much as we can. I know you guys are too. So it's crazy time, brother. So I appreciate you coming on. This is actually, I'm learning how to do this stuff 3 years ago.
You're rolling, man. You're rolling with it.
Yeah, I know. Can you believe it? I'm Mr. IT guy now. So
heck yeah.
I appreciate that. And all the best to you. Give your wife a hug and kids a high five. And we'll
crazy stuff. Hey, when you get done recording, I got to tell you a story real quick. Once you get done recording.
All right. I'll stop this recording. We appreciate it. Hey, again, gang, if you need anything, appreciate it. Every Wednesday, 10 o'clock, Chalk Talk with Coach Rozy on Coach Rozy's Facebook page. We appreciate you showing up here. Make it a great one, gang. Thanks so much.